Um, I just think, I was just working with Mark Dowley on something, on this Revlon piece that we did for Mr. Perlman. And there were things that they needed me to do that the people from the agency really thought were important. So I considered them as much as possible, but when it came to a point where it felt like I was stepping outside of who I was as a person and who I am as an artist, that's when I had, I said to Mark, I was like, I can't do that. Like, it doesn't make sense for my brand. Like, what it is that I do. And he immediately understood, took that back to the agency and said, Pharrell can't do X, Y, and Z, but he's willing to do, A, B, and C. And we actually think this is better for your brand. And they listened because for them, to her point, again, it's not about marketing to people. It's about understanding the human psyche and how it works, what makes it feel comfortable, what in a scenario feels very jarring, what feels natural. And there's a whole science that I feel like, there's a whole science that we should study when it comes to marketing and how people receive things. I mean, think about it. When we talked about like the multiplicity of platforms, right? Now it sounds like, oh yeah, sure. But how many of you guys were very comfortable and totally got it when they said that Apple was making a phone? Really remember back when you heard that? Do you remember that? Everybody in the audience? You guys remember that? How many of you immediately were like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get an Apple phone? I mean, I want you to really, really think back. There was no iPad. Okay, I think there was only an iPod at that time, right? So you tell me, because I remember everyone going, oh, I don't know, Apple. To them that sounded like Pepsi making the phone. But what most people missed is that Steve Jobs and those guys, they understand their customer. And so for them, they were not sweating at all. For them, they were like, you know what? No, it's okay. Let them be nervous when they see how good our phone functions, and they see all the applications and applications. Okay, who was using those words 10 years ago? Like when they see all the apps and everything that it can do, they will be fine. And you know what? He's been right. The guy can make macaroni right now, and we trust him. The guy comes out of retirement and makes an announcement, and we can't wait to hear about the iCloud, something that Sean Fanning couldn't pull off.
Sean, Pharrell, for all the great comments that are being made on this panel, the headline tomorrow is Steve Jobs to make macaroni.
Don't say that. But I mean, no. But my point to you is that's why listen. Hats off to Vivo. Because at the end of the day, like, as long as you have a good idea and you deliver it and you execute, it can be done. And that's what I feel like the recording industry, because I personally feel like there's two different industries. There's the recording industry and then there's the content industry. And what Vivo does is they handle content, right? They handle content, anything that they feel like is important and beautiful and that will get the right kind of hits that makes sense for their advertisers, they go after. It makes sense. It's a wonderful trade. But unfortunately, there are other companies that look at this and they don't understand why companies like Vivo and Apple are succeeding. It's just because they are throwing away whatever it was in their minds that made you feel like Apple and phone. That doesn't make sense. They got rid of that and they opened their minds up to a whole entire world, called 2011, where, listen, if you do it right, because it's based on the mentality of your customer and your audience, you will succeed.